When you hear the words muscle car, two countries will most likely come to mind, the first being the USA and the second being Australia. There have been a handful of other countries that have tried to enter the muscle car market, the most notable being the 1977 Aston Martin V8 Vantage. But what about Italy? Well, if you ask me, Italy have done plenty. Today we're going to look at 5 of them from 4 different brands. My name is Josh and I talk about cars, so sit back, relax and enjoy the show. Before we start, it would probably be a good idea to look at what a muscle car actually is. Based on the Wikipedia definition, a muscle car is a high-performance, usually mid-sized car built in the United States, typically fitted with a V8 rear-wheel drive and manufactured in the 1960s or early 1970s. Based on this, there are definitely a few Italian legends that fit the muscle car breed quite nicely. For the 5 cars we are looking at, we are going to talk about 3 very important things: performance, appearance and price. We'll be ranking them each out of 10, which will allow us to give the whole car an average out of 30. To start us off, let's look at 3 of the most famous muscle cars, so we have a couple of benchmarks. The Pontiac GTO, the muscle car daddy. In 1969 we got the second generation, which in my opinion is the best. The most powerful variant came in 1969 and was called the Judge. It had 370 horsepower from a 6.6 litre V8 and either a 4-speed manual or 3-speed automatic gearbox. The manual could do the 0 to 60 sprint in 4.9 seconds and the quarter mile would come in 13.6 seconds. 8 out of 10 for performance. When new, the car would cost a minimum of $3,500, which in today's money is $30,910. So a 9 out of 10 for price. The car looks pretty great and gets a solid 8 out of 10 for looks. Overall, this car gets 26 out of 30. The Dodge Challenger RT had various engine options, the most powerful being a 7 litre V8 with 425 horsepower. Once again, we had the option of either a 4-speed manual or 3-speed automatic. The 0 to 60 was completed in 4.7 seconds and the quarter mile sprint was done in 13.3 seconds. Solid 10 out of 10 on this one, boys. In 1970, the 426 Hemi cost a minimum of $4,900, which in today's money is $40,932. 7 out of 10 for price. As for looks, it's not bad, but I prefer the GTO. 6 out of 10. The Challenger scores an overall of 23 out of 30. The Chevy Chevelle SS. You could get this car in 1970 with a 7.4 litre V8 with a frankly ridiculous 450 horsepower and the same gearbox options as the other 2. Despite this, the 0 to 60 is 4.8 seconds and the quarter mile is completed in 13.4 seconds, which is slower than the Challenger. Still, it gets a 9 out of 10 for performance. It cost around $4,000, so about $33,414 today. 9 out of 10. Looks wise, in my opinion, this is the weakest one. It's not ugly, but compared to the Judge, it just looks so boring. 5 out of 10. The Chevy scores a 23 out of 30, making it a tie for second place between the Chevy and Dodge, whereas the GTO takes the top spot with its low price and aggressive looks. Now, the Italians. Where do they stand in our little ranking? Let's start with Maserati, specifically the 1970 Ghibli SS. Probably one of the most beautiful cars ever made. Power came from a tiny 4.9 litre V8 with 330 horsepower, mated to either a 5-speed manual or a 3-speed automatic gearbox. 0 to 60 was claimed in 5 seconds flat and the quarter mile time is estimated to be around 14 seconds. So for this, the Ghibli scores a 7 out of 10 on performance. Now, the standard car, so not even the SS, was priced in 1970 at, and I promise you, you're not ready for this, $19,000. That's the equivalent of $158,719 today. Even though this car would score an easy 10 out of 10 for looks, I have to give it a 1 out of 10 for price. So the Maserati gets an 18 out of 30 on the muscle car score chart. Ouch. Maybe including the Ghibli was unfair, as it was actually marketed as a luxury Grand Tourer. So what about something that had the American market in mind? The 1967 Di Tommaso Mangusta. Mangusta is Italian for mongoose, which is a carnivorous animal that eats snakes, specifically cobras. They named this car intentionally as a dig at the Shelby Cobra. Now, there was two versions of this car, the European spec and the US spec. The European spec had a 4.7 litre V8 with 302 horsepower, and the US spec had a 4.9 litre V8 with 230 horsepower. Why? Not a clue, mate. For the sake of giving this car the best possible chance, we'll use the European spec. The only option was a 5-speed manual, and like the Lamborghini Miura, it was mid-engined. 0 to 60 came in 4.7 seconds, and the quarter-mile sprint came in 13.2 seconds. Solid 10 out of 10 for performance. Being light does make a difference, folks. It cost $11,150 in 1967, which equates to $108,202 today. Not great, but better than the Maserati. 3 out of 10. As for looks, it would be a 10 out of 10, but it's a little odd round the back, so I guess I'll have to do a 9. That means the Mangusta scores a 22 out of 30, better than the Maserati, but still lacking compared to the US muscle cars. What about a company that was founded by an angry Ferrari employee, purely in spite? Bisarini. Most known for their race cars, they did do road cars too. The most notable would be the 5300 GT Stradale. As the name wouldn't suggest, power came from a 5.4 litre V8. 5400 must have been taken, I guess. In road legal trim, it had 350 horsepower paired to a 4-speed manual. This was in 1964. 0 to 60 came in 4.9 seconds, quarter mile in 13.3. 9 out of 10 for sure. Price? Yeah, there's that. $10,500 or $109,783 today. Another 3 out of 10. As for looks, I mean, it's fine. I'm not too sure about the front end, but other than that, it's a solid 8 out of 10. That means it scores a 20 out of 30. Meh. The Iso Grifo. Putting American engines was popular in Italy during the 1960s, and the Grifo was no exception. The first version of the car came out in 1964 or 1965, I'm not actually sure. It's one of them. It uses a 5.4 litre V8 producing 365 horsepower, blah blah blah. We're not interested in that one, oh no. In 1968, Iso decided to put a 7 litre V8 into the Grifo, which boosted it to 400 horsepower paired to a 4-speed manual. 0 to 60 was in 4.7 seconds and the quarter mile in 13.5. 9 out of 10, no sweat. I couldn't find a price for the 7 litre version, mostly because it was so rare, but from what I've read, it was bloody expensive. The standard car, if you're interested, cost around £5,950 or about £143,880 today. So comparable to the Maserati. 1 out of 10. As for looks, 10 out of 10, and it's not even a debate. 20 out of 30 overall. We started this ranking with Maserati, so why not finish with them? The Kamsin, essentially the replacement for the Ghibli. The production car didn't come along until 1974, so muscle cars were already dying out as a victim of the 73 oil crisis. Did that stop Maserati? No, not really.
Oh no! Anyway,
4.9 litre V8 with 315 horsepower paired to a 5-speed manual or 3-speed automatic. 0 to 60 comes in 5.5 seconds and the quarter mile in about 13.9. Not too good, I'm afraid. 6 out of 10. In 1978, 4 years after the car came out, it cost $17,000 or $84,510 today. So really not too bad. 5 out of 10. As for looks, it's a classic Maserati. What do you think I'm going to say? 10 out of 10, duh. So the Camzen gets 21 out of 30. So based on this, what can we tell? Well, the Italian takes definitely had the performance and the looks, but they don't have the one thing that made muscle cars so popular in the US: affordability. In the 60s and 70s, anyone could buy a V8 muscle car to rip up the streets. They were no more expensive than normal family cars. The Italians didn't have that. Yes, they have the exquisite luxury features that the US cars don't, but a $15,000 jump in the case of the Ghibli, is it really necessary? I don't know, man. What are your thoughts? Were Italian muscle cars actually any good, or were they just a piece of art? Let me know in the comments. If you like these mini documentary style videos, consider hitting that subscribe button, because I have plenty more to come. That's all for me today, so goodbye, God bless, and see you soon.